Hello and welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. We're going to be starting a brand new series today, and in this series we're going to show how to paint a peacock. The brushes that I use when I'm painting traditionally are a 2-inch flat wash, a number 10 bristle brush, a number 8 filbert, a number 10 flat, a number 6 flat, a long script brush, and a short script brush, and perhaps a number 3 round. And I also like to use canvas board, but you can also use a stretched canvas. It just depends on what you prefer. And here are the acrylics that I use. And I mostly use Grumbacher Academy, but I also use Liquitex. And this is the names of the basic palette that I use. Keep in mind that if you use a different brand, they might have different names. Now, we're going to be using Infinite Painter for Android. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of do a little basic sketch of the peacock. And I wanted to show his tail because that's the most colorful part of the peacock. So I've got some photo references from Pixabay, which has royalty-free photo references. And so I just wanted to go ahead and use that basic pose there where you can see all of his tail, because that's one of the prettiest parts of the peacock. And so I'm just doing sort of a basic sketch here. And if you're following along traditionally, just go ahead and either make this sketch with a light pencil, or you can make it with some charcoal vine, which is a really soft charcoal. And just go ahead and kind of try to get the basic shape of the peacock, and just kind of, you don't have to do the big background. I'm going to do sort of a vague background for this, but I did like the rock wall. So I went ahead and kept that in the picture. But I also have some pictures of some flowers and other gardens that I thought I might use for the background, but I did use some of the colors from the flowers. And so I just wanted to go ahead and kind of mainly feature the peacock, though. This is about how to do a peacock instead of just doing a garden. But you can accentuate the flowers if you want to. But here I just went ahead and made a rough sketch of the wall as well right here. Just I want some of the brick texture, and we want the bricks to look broken up, and I guess it's sort of a rock wall is what it is, and more made out of rocks than it is bricks. But you want kind of just a little bit of kind of irregularities with all these rocks, because that just adds interest to your picture. So here I'm just kind of sketching that out, and you just kind of want to get a basic idea of where everything goes. And you don't have to make a highly detailed picture sketch, but a lot of people that, I guess if you're doing watercolor, you probably would. You definitely want to try to get your shapes correct if you're doing watercolor, but I prefer to use acrylic for my paintings. You can also follow along in oils, but you just kind of want a basic sketch if you're doing acrylic or oils, because you're going to go back over this again, and you're going to probably change it a little bit, and the boundaries will move. But you want to go ahead and just kind of get this good sketch started on the bottom layer. Now, when you're doing this digitally, make sure that you leave this picture on the bottom layer and don't cover it up, don't merge it with anything. You want you want that to be on the bottom layer. So I've started another layer for the background, and here you want kind of a rough look, like leaf texture, and you can use the Peacock brush in Infinite Painter, or any of the sort of some of the watercolor looks, although like I said, I would be doing this in acrylic if I'm actually painting realistically, or traditionally rather. And so that's what I'm doing here, trying to use the Peacock brush and get it sort of the settings so that it looks real leafy and loose. And if you're doing this traditionally, go ahead and take your number 8 bristle brush or your number 10 bristle brush and make sure that the bristles are splayed out on the end, and just dip it in some Hooker's green or some kind of a forest green if you don't have Hooker's green. But anyway, you just want a kind of a dark green color, and tap it lightly on the canvas, and this will give it kind of a leaf-like look. And here I was just playing around with some different brushes. I tried the sponge brush and several ones just to try to get a different look, but we want to get this leaf-like look. And so I'm just kind of playing around with the different ones and trying to get a indistinct background. We want a background, we want it to look like leaves and flowers and things, but we don't want it real high detail, because this is going to be about the peacock. So here I'm adding some of the flowers in, and I'm using sort of a pinkish color. Probably you would use alizarin crimson with it maybe, and sort of add a little bit of, say, some white acrylic gesso if you're following along traditionally, and you just go ahead and kind of dot it around in amongst the green. You don't want to destroy all of your green. You don't want the background to be solid pink. You want little patches of green and little patches of pink. And here I'm also adding a little bit of some white to make it look like there's some white flowers in the background. And I'm using the blending brush to sort of smudge it out. And again, if you're following along traditionally, you would use your bristle brush to make this this look with the paint, and just tap it down on your canvas and make sure that the bristles actually sort of spread out, because you want that sort of fuzzy edged look. Right now we don't want any hard edges. We want soft fuzzy edges on the background. So here I'm just doing that and trying to get some different colors. And you can add different colors. You could add yellows or purples and things for the background color if you didn't want it to be just pinks and peach colors and green. And then I'm starting on the underpainting of the rock wall that the peacock is sitting on. And I'm going to start out with a grayish purplish color for the underpainting. And the underpainting is basically just the first layer. And in acrylic painting, you want to have several different layers, because you're going to go ahead and refine things and add more colors and more glazes to it, and it just gives it more texture. So here I'm adding some darker colors. I'm adding a little bit of some burnt umber color also to the bricks, or burnt sienna, and lighter purples. And you can use dioxazine purple with white acrylic gesso if you're following along traditionally. And you just kind of want rough strokes right now. We're not trying to get any fine lines or any fine detail. And then I want to go ahead and use some burnt umber for the ground that is at the foot of the rock wall, and it'll probably be dirt, although I have pictures of rocks and pavement for the photo references. I want to go ahead and make this a dirt at the bottom of the wall instead of rocks and pavement. So I'm using some dioxazine purple again and burnt umber, and you just want to add some darkening purple to the corners of your pictures because you want to try to keep your viewer's eye engaged on the peacock and in the center of the picture rather than letting it go off the picture, and dark edges usually keep your viewer's eye focused towards the center of your painting. So I'm working a little bit more on the rock wall, just getting a variety of colors. You don't want it to be solid because it's solid would be monotonous, so you want to have a variety of colors and textures there. And then I'm going to work on the peacock and its neck, and it's kind of a sort of a deep blue kind of color. So if you're following along traditionally, you would use ultramarine blue and maybe throw in some phthalo blue as well. And if you don't have phthalo blue, then just throw in some hooker's green. And we just kind of want to get sort of a deep greenish color for the peacock's neck. And here I'm just kind of playing around with the settings on the brushes, and I like to use the oil brushes in Infinite Painter for this kind of work, for the main subject. And so I'm just kind of smudging around a little bit to sort of smooth out the edges and blend them together. And if you're following along traditionally, the way you would blend them together is you mix quite a bit of white acrylic gesso with some of your paint, and just sort of it will keep them from drying, and you can actually blend them right quick if you're using acrylics. And then I wanted to go ahead and add the green color to the peacock, and it's sort of a light greenish color, almost an aqua color. So I wanted to add that on the feathers on his back. And here I'm just kind of going along the edges of his tail, and it's kind of a more yellowish green on the feathers of his tail. And I'm sort of adding little curved strokes to give that the impression of feathers and the little rounded feathers that make up his tail. And you can use your number 3 round brush if you're following along traditionally, and you can use hooker's green with a touch of phthalo blue and a lot of white acrylic gesso, and that'll kind of give you that aqua green color. And then here I'm adding some yellow ochre into this if you're following along traditionally, and a little bit of trying to add some purples, because as you can see on his feathers, they do look kind of purplish and gray there on his tail. So I'm adding in those colors and just doing kind of rough, rounded strokes, and just trying to kind of get the impression right now of the way all the colors on his feathers go. We're not doing big details yet. We're not drawing the little eye design that is on the tail of the peacock yet. We'll do that in the next video. So this is the end of part 1 of my peacock painting video. And in part 2, we'll go ahead and we'll add some of the little eyes in the tail, and work more on the wall and do some more detail work. So if you want to see that, hit the subscribe button. And thanks everybody for watching. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below. Thanks for all your support, and I will catch you later.